Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. Rough day yesterday, hanging around. Yeah. I mean, again, Chef, a little late day move there. Pretty meaningless move. So today looks pretty much like the same range as yesterday. Morning, guys. How we doing? Margin, Danny, Kevin, Sasha. What's up, everyone? All right. So today, there are some interesting. There's some interesting gaps below. There's some interesting low volume below. If you guys pull up the volume profile, which I will do in today's session, there's like one or two big names that I'm watching today for some low volume areas. One of those being Coinbase, one of those being AMD, and another one being Tesla. So actually around 3 watches. Obviously, we'll see if the market can get outside of its range. There's a very defined, you can see there on the charts, very defined NTZ for me today, where I really do not plan on trading within. If we stay inside that range, I don't want to be getting involved in the same action as yesterday, right? So yesterday, we can see the lack of price action. We can see the chop that ensued throughout the day. And if we're trading in the same range, then why do we expect anything different? So today, I think we really need to go into the day, look at what happened yesterday, use that as context to understand what could happen today, and protect ourselves, have some discipline. It's the first day of the month. It's July 1st, which is a great day to do something different, right? You can see the quote behind me. What will you do different this month, right? What is that thing that you need to change? For me, it's more patience. It's a little bit more patience. It's a little bit more allowing something to truly set up. That's a little bit of a problem that I've had the last few days. Yesterday, I think I did a great job at that and allowed a trade to come to me, which was really nice, meta. But then I sort of backed it up with some intra-channel trades that sort of just gave back my profits, and I end the day basically break even, slightly red. So a little bit more patience today. If we're in that chop range, if we're in that sort of same exact channel as yesterday, then I want to be a little bit easy. I want to take it a little bit easy. But there are some top watches on the individual equity side that I do want to keep an eye out for. So we'll talk about those today. I think they're really good looking setups. I hope they play out nicely. I hope they give me a nice confirmation and confidence to take them. And hopefully we start the month on a positive note. So those are some watches I have today. Let's jump into it. If you guys could, please press that like button before we get into the charts. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, or if you've been watching and you're still not subscribed, make sure to subscribe. So with that said, let's slide over to the charts. So today, we have the NASDAQ in the exact same range. So you guys can see right here, we have the NASDAQ range very clearly on our screen. We have the highs from yesterday, which were around 22,917, and we have the lows, actually sort of like the Friday close, which is around the 22,745. And I don't really want to get too involved trading within that area today. So if I go down to the 5-minute chart, hey, blessed, appreciate that, brother. If I go down to the 5-minute chart, I don't really want to get involved in this action right here. So you can see anywhere between these highs and these lows, I really don't care to be getting chopped up like yesterday inside of here. So I'm going to stay away from that. This is sort of my no trade zone. This is where I want to stay, or at least understand that the price action will be lackluster. I don't think it'll give us the opportunities that we are looking for. Anywhere down into this Friday level. So if we look at Friday, and I can actually put on the after hours charts. So if I highlight, let me put that in there. So if I highlight the extended hours, right, you can see this was the close from Friday right in here, right? This was a little rejection from Friday. This was a hold from Friday. And this was a Friday pre-market area. All right, so this area right here seems to be very important. And you can see that we are still, yesterday we just traded literally in the 50 percentile the entire day of that range, nowhere. All right, and today you can see we're in the exact same area. So do I want to, I mean, is it rational to walk into today and think that anything different is going to happen if you are trading in the exact same area as yesterday? That would be irrational if you think that something else would happen. So to walk into the day, I think the right mindset is, hey, if we don't break this, then I shouldn't expect anything different than what we saw yesterday. It's a short week, right? We have 2 more trading days left in the week. A lot of people on vacation. The big boys probably gone, right? Switch the algos on and kill all the options contracts. You know, that's what I would come into today and understand. Now, if we do get a nice move, right, which would be great. I wouldn't mind getting a move. I'd love to get a move. But if we don't, or if we do, that would be, in my opinion, either a break above these highs and a hold, or a break and fail underneath the Friday close area. For me, let me go back to the 15-minute. That would be a failure under 22,725 area right in here. If we can get a fail under that, then I think you will trade back into this 685. If we can get a trade under that, then I like this Friday low as a target if we can start to see some downside come in. This Friday low, I think, is a great target around the 22,600. We'll see, man. We'll see if we can get it. You know, there's definitely some signs that downside is probably a decent trade that's warming up. I'm warming up to some downside looks, especially on some equities. So, you know, I don't want to be the last bull standing in this sort of straight up move. So I'm being a little bit cautious on that. I don't think there's any reason to long into this high from yesterday. That's pretty clear. So we either need to break that high, in my opinion, or give me a deeper pullback, you know, for a long if I get that. So going to be a little bit careful here. We can very much see the range that I would really stay away from. It's right in here. I really don't think you want to be getting too dancy inside that range today. If we go to the S&P 500, you can see right here, I've labeled this over trading lack of continuation channel. I mean, that's really what it is. This is going to cause you to over trade, and you can see right here, 62.55 was the level we had on this live stream yesterday. We did not break above that yesterday. We actually failed it here in the after hour session. We swept those highs too in the intraday and sort of just instantly failed. Now you can see we're failing this, moving back lower. And I would say right around the 62.16 level is where this would move down to. We have right here this Friday close, right around this 62.16. I think that's probably right around where you get that to start to hold up. So if I look at this on the 5-minute, you guys can see right here, anywhere between 62.16 and I would say between like the right here around the 62.20 to 62.16 would be the area that I would say would start to potentially bounce this, right in here, right in here, right in here, right in here. If we get under that 62.16 level, then I think you will get a nice move to the 6,200, which would be really nice, right? This move right here, under 62.16. If we get that, I would say 6,200, 61.83. We got to get over it though, or we got to get under it, right? If not, then you know this is our over trading, lack of continuation, pretty much the NTZ, right? That's what we don't want to get involved in. I don't think you want to get involved in this area, right? Yeah, the other thing, Brian brings up, right? What is another thing that we always talk about, guys? And this is a great point that Brian brings up. Every time something gets frothy over the daily 20, there's pullbacks, right? Look at what's happening. We've talked about this many times in this live stream. You want to start as a market deviates from a daily 20, you start to de-risk, right? As a market deviates over a daily 20, you start to de-risk, right? Because you get this, right? So look what's happening here. We've deviated over the daily 20. We've deviated over the daily 20. We got an aggressive pullback to the daily 20, which created the next leg. So this is sort of that deviation point, right? We're like, okay, we're pretty high up there. We're in this case, we were, when the downside started, we were just around 3% off the daily 20. And at this current moment, we are trading around 2.5 to 2.7% off the daily 20. So could have more, right? There's definitely ability to just keep squeezing higher, but you want to start being a little bit careful, right? Is there a day where we get a pullback, and is that the day I can then look for a pullback long and not be the last one holding longs, right? And trust me, I'm not saying you should be shorting the hell out of this market. I'm just saying that you want to be a little bit cautious about how much you run the longs up and always be a profit taker, right? So, we'll use the price action to guide. For now, we can definitely start to see somewhat of a top, but could this break today? Could it turn into a support and continue higher? Absolutely. And if that's the case, then you should not be short. That's very clear. So, going to be watching that 62.16, going to be watching that 62.55. If we can get outside of this range, I would love to take a trade under or over. But if we stay in here today, guys, I'll probably take it pretty easy, man. I don't want to be, going to really try to instill that confidence, set the tone for this July, not start trading in these ranges. SPY, pretty much the same thing. If you look at the SPY here, you can see that 619 high, which I think is that sort of upside rejection. You can see the NTZ. I would say down until like the 614.50. If I go to the 5-minute chart here, you can see right here, 614.50. It's right. It's a little bit tough to read here on the SPY, but I think it's right around that 614.50. If I look at this, I can see right here, right here, right here, and right here. So it's right in there, right in that 614.50, 615 area, all in this general zone here, right? We can see the highs, the lows, the highs, and this consolidation here. So I would probably be careful, right? I don't want to be short into that. If we move lower, that could be your bounce spot. If you break that, then I think you'll, if you break under here, then I think you'll trade into this low, 613, and then if you break that, you're trading into the Friday low at 611, right? So those are going to be my watches. I like the price action under this level much more. I like this price action much more than I like this range right here, right? So going to wait for us to get outside of that and see if I can get some action. QQQ. A little bit of a sloppy area is what I sort of indicated this as yesterday. This is your high at 550, which I actually think I want to change this just a little bit because I do truly believe that this Friday high is very important for the NASDAQ futures. I just hate how sloppy it was yesterday, right? This is really what got me yesterday, which I have a hard time explaining, to be fully honest with you guys, right? When I see a gap like this, right, pretty much a gap down to like 548. See this gap right here, right there, 548, 548, and then this Friday high, right, around 550. So, the trade that I lost on yesterday, I think had a very logical idea. I'm not going to be upset about this loss that I took yesterday. So, you had a failure of Friday's highs, and in my mind, if we're going to fail those Friday's highs, we should be looking to fill this gap down to 548, right? That's, to me, if you see a failure back under this high, and you can see this move to 548, this move to 548. And I said, okay, failures of Friday's highs. Let's get another move to 548 as my target. This held at 549, and, I really don't see anything there that would say, hey, that's going to be a support. So a little bit tough for me yesterday, to be honest. A little bit tough there. Just sort of held that 549, got stopped out of that trade. I thought targeting this gap fill was a really great idea. But clearly the market said something else. So for today, I would probably, I would want to make sure you're aware of what 550 is doing, right? I think that's very important. The last week high, the Friday high of last week, the 550 level, I think a failure under that should influence downside, truly. I really do. But yesterday, it didn't really happen, right? So this is a sloppy area, right? Anywhere down into this gap fill at 548 is really just a sloppy area for me. It's going to be difficult to read this because I still can't get a perfect read, right? Is it 548? Is it this low from yesterday at 549? Right? I mean, this is all just a cautionary zone in my eyes. Anywhere, down into this area gets sort of cautionary. I would love to look for a failure of Friday's highs to get price action down to that level, right? I think that would be right. I think it's proper to see failures at Friday highs for a smackdown and a continuation through this gap fill and down into that low here. Can we get the price action to follow through? That's going to be the question, and that is clearly what smacked me up yesterday, and just didn't get it, right? Just didn't get it. So I'm gonna pop these. Can we make this pretty, please? I'm gonna pop these levels on here and just be a little bit aware of where we're trading down to. Right, I think understanding that this is PDL, right, is important. Previous day low on Qs, right, could be a really disgusting spot again today. Or if you're shorting here and this thing just pops PDL, I'd be very careful of that. Under that, you should get your break. You should get your break under previous day low down into the 548. I would say down into the gap fill level right here. Right, that would make sense. So if you get that, that's great. And then if you break 548, then you're gonna trade to the 547. A lot of landmines, man. A lot of landmines, right? There's landmines down here. You got to be careful. If you're trading today and you're looking for continuation and this thing just pops off previous day low and you're unaware of it, right? That's a landmine. So be careful of that. I like the 550 as a level, but I would probably, if I was to be honest, if you want to be really careful today, I would probably throw in your no trade zone between yesterday's highs and yesterday's lows. That's probably the right move, right? So if you say, hey, I don't want to trade within yesterday's highs and yesterday's lows, I'm going to go ahead and put this zone on and just not trade within it, right? If you break yesterday's lows, then I think you can get a little bit more aggressive, right? If you have a break and hold below previous day low, that would typically is the word to use here, right? And sometimes it's anything but typical. Typically, a fail under a PDL should influence some downside pressure, and that's something I would look for under 549 today. Typically is the word of the day, right? But yesterday was a little bit tough in terms of getting continuation, and if you're within that same range, right, as we talked about, if you're inside of the same Fridays or the same Mondays range, then you might see the same sort of atypical move. But let's see, under 549 it could be nice, so let's see what happens. NASDAQ futures, so like the problem, it's so close, right? You break that Friday low, you're very close to this 548. Maybe you take it for $1 ride, but again, it's going to be a very quick scalp, and so just make sure you're aware of that. Nice downside though. IWM failing that very interesting. Yeah, IWM not able to get and hold above this 200 SMA and 216. So that is still a little bit of a pain point for the IWM, it seems. So keep an eye on that today. IWM 216 and the daily 200, still a little bit of a pain point. And the Dow Jones is right up into our supply at 44,700. SMH may be a cool-off day today, which I think would be great for the semis. You can see right here, SMH is failing back under this 278 spot, right? We can see right here 278. We're failing back below it, which is important, right? We can see right here 278. It's pretty much the major level. You get a little bit of alfalfa action below it, but that's pretty much the major level. If we see a failure at 278 today, I would say you could bring this back down to maybe these Friday lows or these Thursday lows at 275. So yeah, a little bit of a cool off. I think we've definitely found that 280 supply up here. This is now a pretty much triple top at 280. So could we see maybe a little bit of a semi downside day for a little bit of a cool off move? It looks possible. It does look possible. Tesla. Okay. If you guys could, please press that like button. 2,300 people, 700 likes. Press that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Tesla. Man, I wish this wasn't doing this in the pre-market, man. Let me go ahead and show you guys something here real quick. If we pop in our trading view action. We get this all mapped out nicely. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, let's go like this. Perfect. So if we're looking at our TV and we pop in Tesla, right? Tesla is trading within some low volume areas, which is very, very interesting. Let me get some time here. All right, Tesla basically in the pre-market just faded, unfortunately, through this entire low volume area already, which is really what I wanted to target when I saw last night us dropping. Posted a chart yesterday for the group saying that we're going to look to target this low volume today, and that's gone. Unfortunately, right? Here's your low volume gap, and it's gone. So we went right through it, right? Which is expected. And it looks like you're going to trade right back into the major demand, and that would be right here, right? You have major demand here at the 295. So this short might be getting sort of over. I would be slightly careful about how aggressive you get on the short side here, unless you get a little pop and fade. But you can see on this 4-hour chart, right, we have some major previous highs here around that 295, and that's where the volume starts picking up again, right? So you might have just navigated through that whole low volume area, which sort of sucks because it sort of went without us. But let's see, right? Let's see if we can break under. Let me get, if TOS would let me zoom in, right? TOS heard that I'm using TradingView, so it's getting upset with me. If we can get under this like 292 to 295 zone, right, then I think you can get more. If I see this right here. So you are trading down into this 292 to 295 zone. See this? Right here. And right here. And you can see we're right in it. If we can break that, then I think you should be able to short this towards 275. These lows, right? This area right here. If you can get under 292, then I like this to 275. I like this area. I like a little risk reward short there, right? If I go to the 5 minute, I don't mind this look, you know, a little one of these right here. If you get a nice 292 fail, you know, stop loss over 295 area, targeting 275. I like that idea. That's going to be something I watch today. I also don't mind the idea of Tesla fading on a pop at 312. That is, by the way, the 250 SMA right here. See this? That is the daily 200 and daily 50 SMA. So if we do get maybe like a little pop where people are like, oh, okay, let's buy Tesla longs, you know, and then it gets smacked at the 200, now that could be very interesting, right? To fade this back down to 292 or even 275. So I don't mind a little pop and fade right here around the 312, right? That I don't mind. So something I will watch right in here. Something around that 312, possibly a little gap fill and then rejection. That is something I will pay attention to. Yeah. So Tesla, interesting today. Interesting. Definitely worth a watch. Definitely something I'll pay attention to. Yeah, if we can use that low volume area for a pop and fade, I agree. Slappy. Slappy. Totally agree, man. If we can get a little pop through that low volume again and then start to see this 312 and this volume, you know, shelf start to turn into a rejection point, that would be a watch for the continuation. But I just want to point out, I would not chase shorts into 292, 295. That is the dangerous trade today. So please be careful there. NVIDIA. So NVIDIA starting to get a little bit weak here, and NVIDIA under 155, I would say goes relatively quick to 153, and that's the trade we've been waiting for, by the way, guys. We've been waiting for the 153 pullback. So let's see if we can get that. 153 is the previous all-time highs. I do believe that this is the trade that you should have, right? We should encounter this move. We should pull back the previous all-time highs. We never really did, right? We had a little intraday hold there, but not any kind of structured multi-day, you know, step up at that level. We need a multi-day retest. We need one of these, right? One of these, and then we can say, okay, NVIDIA is holding previous all-time high. let's rocket this thing higher after picking up more buyers at that key level, right? But we pretty much just had a one-day test of it and a rocket higher, which is too frothy. It's too frothy. So I would expect us to come back to this 153. If we break 155 today, I would absolutely target that 153. That is what I would look for. Let's look at the volume there. Between 153 and 155, you can see if we go to the I got an alert. Oh, arm crossing 160. Shit. If we go to the volume here, let it load for a second. You can see under 155 to 153 gets a little bit light, right? Volume starts to pick up again around the 153. Under 153, right, you're really sort of light down here, obviously because of how aggressive this went higher, right? Look at this. So, yeah, some interesting fading, potential here, no doubt. 153, you break under that, you have pretty much vertical downside to 150. You're, again, extended over the daily 20. So there's interest here, man. I definitely would pay attention to these. This is the number. Oh, my God. Please. Please don't do it. I want this trade so bad. It's so clean on AMD. Please, AMD. Please wait for us. Under 139, this should go straight down to 133, in my opinion. This looks really nice. AMD under 150, under 139 should go vertically down to 133. There is a very nice low volume area here that I would be really paying attention to. It looks like it's already doing it, but I would definitely try to target this shelf right here. This area right here is very interesting, all right here. I would be looking for a break under 139 today, right into 133. That would be my downside target. I think this provides great risk reward, right? Stop loss back over like the 139 area, targeting 133. That's a huge trade, and that isn't right through this straight up move. So definitely watching for this one today. Look at this hourly chart right here. If you can flip under this low at 139 and get a break and retest rejection, I love this into these highs right here. Love it. So big watch today. Definitely something I'm paying attention to. Keep an eye on AMD there. The other one that I'm really watching is Coinbase. Now, this looks incredible. Yesterday on Coinbase, we talked about the bear flag and the head and shoulder, and that is exactly what Coinbase is doing, which is fantastic. This was exactly our watch. Our only concern was the fact that it could, hold 342, and today you can see 342 is failing. If I go to Coinbase and I go to the volume, you can see right here, Look at this area right here. Right here, right here. Look at this volume right here. Between this shelf and this shelf, there is a very clear valley. Very clear valley in price action here, right? Between this area. You have a very clear one of these, right? And so when you trade through this type of area, I would absolutely be trying to pay attention to those trades. These are where A+ trades set up, right? Between these low volume areas. And you can see if we get straight up, we can get straight down. All right, so this is very interesting. Please pay attention to this one today. Coinbase under 342 into 310, 308 would be a juicy boy. But let's see, man. Let's see if it provides it. We got to see if we can find our entry. We want to see, a nice clean rejection under that 342. You can see that it is failing right now. If we can get an entry point here, I would absolutely be paying attention to this one. Right, really frothy move on Coinbase. It needs to pull back. We've been waiting for the pullback to this level at 315, and this could be the day it does it. So really interested watching that today. Let's keep an eye on that. Palantir. You guys can see right here, Palantir, 135. Right, 135, 136. You break that, you probably go back to the 130. I would watch that today. Watch 135 on Palantir. Meta need to see a break under this 734 area. Under 734, you go down into this 725. Under that, you go down into the 717. So let's see. Maybe Meta holds on, though, at 734 and creates a new long, right? So we'll watch both sides. 734 is your key level today. Amazon did exactly what we wanted. We talked about Amazon needing to pull back to this 4-hour double top high. It did exactly that yesterday, so that was perfection. Can we get a hold of 217, 218 today for a long? Let's see. Or do we fail back under 217? If we do, then we're probably coming back to that daily 20 right here, right? That's something I would watch. Google sort of failed that 182.50 high. 179 is now rejecting. I would say Google is probably on a date back down to the daily 200, daily 20. Something to watch there. Hood, is it going to join the $100 club today? We'll see. Does the market sort of mess that up for Hood? I don't know. But Hood, very nice move yesterday. Obviously on some new stuff they got coming out. I would say a pullback to the previous day close, which is right here. So if I go here, actually, I can do it like this. Actually, no, I messed that up. So right here, I would say you probably need to come back down to the close of yesterday, right between this 93.50 to 92.50 area. Let me go to the 5-minute chart. So right here, I think you probably want to trade back into this consolidation, personally, and see if this can fill the gap and then continue. So right here, I'm going to be watching Hood right in here, right, to see what it does back at a gap fill. I'm not really interested in longing any stock on a gap up, as you guys know, especially with the market sort of slipping today. So, yeah, not interested in trading on gaps. This is, I want to see us get actual, intraday volume get tested again. So 93.50 to 92.50 zone here is probably going to be pretty important. I would watch to see what Hood does in this area today if it pulls back, right? Look to see what it does in there. If it breaks under 92.50, then back to 90, right? And maybe a little bit of a deeper pullback. But, I mean, at this point, I think a magnet is at 100, so we'll see if it can do it. Snow, not much yesterday. Netflix doesn't give a shit, just going up. I got nothing for that. Apple. This one I wanted to talk about. This is huge. This is very interesting. Apple weekly chart, you guys can see right here. We have a very interesting Apple weekly break and retest. And is this time to be more aggressive on Apple, right? Is this time to get more aggressive on Apple? Look, previous major high. Look at this consolidation. All right, we've seen a lot of stocks do this, man. A lot of stocks on the weekly chart. Just sort of hold the previous weekly highs as new lows and then continue higher. I would be paying attention to this, man. If anything, I think it's a great share purchase time. I'm not opposed to maybe buying some shares of Apple with an average of around the low 200s. Looks to be a great technical level to be share purchasing Apple. Swing trade also very interesting. If we can get maybe a little bit more juice over 208, I think Apple will absolutely go straight to 215. I mean, over this high right here at 208, you got really nothing here until these highs at 215. So I would say look for an Apple break and retest 208 to target 215. Probably target like the 100 SMA at 212, 213, right? Just to be cautious. So 208 to 213, 215, that's a positive R, definitely a trade idea. If you get over 215, then you're really going up to 225, right? Over 215, you got nothing here. Look at this. Over 215, you're right into the daily 200 SMA. Should Apple be trading, ask yourself this. Should Apple be trading 7% below its 200 SMA? I don't care how much you hate Apple, man. I don't think it should be trading 7% under its 200 SMA when the NASDAQ is trading 7% above its 200 SMA. I don't know. Something's going to happen there. Google's trading above the 200, which has been a shit name lately. Amazon's obviously, everything's above the 200. The only other thing is Tesla. Tesla's below the 200. Everything else, I'm pretty sure on the tech side is above. AMD's above. Google's above. Netflix is clearly above. I mean, Netflix is far gone above. Microsoft's way above, right? Should Apple be 7% below its 200? That's a question for you to answer. That's an opportunity for you to decipher. I would be a share purchaser, definitely. Yeah. But this is not financial advice, and you do whatever the hell you want to do at the end of the day. Don't let me influence you, but that's something to think about, right? Is there an opportunity for Apple to get back towards its 200 here? After seeing a weekly chart hold like this, I would not be opposed to that thought process, right? So let's see. All right, let's see. Let's see what happens. Definitely a watch. Boeing. Oh, it's just a little pullback on Boeing, man. There's nothing much going on here. Let's see. I mean, 208.50. 208.50. That's the watch. That's what I'd watch there. BlackRock. I mean, you're just trading into the highs on BlackRock there. That's really all you got to go off of here, right? And not much to go off of besides those all-time highs on this one. Anything else I missed? Costco's not really doing anything. Home Depot, I always flip through these. Lulu, nothing. Coin, I like. Watch that. Watch ARM. ARM 160 is interesting today. MSTR, I don't like that fail of 404, but we'll keep an eye on that. 404. Broadcom, yeah, Broadcom. I think pullbacks to 264 are necessary here, Chef. I think you need to get a pullback here to this high at 264. So I'm just going to wait for it. I don't like chasing Broadcom on these onesie twosies. I mean, that's really what it is at this point, right? Give me a structured move, right? Come back down to this high. Let me actually get a nice trade on that, on a cool off the daily 20 catching up, right? Let's let this daily 20 catch up. Let's get back to this 264 spot, and then let's look for a re-entry, right? I'm tired of looking at like these little micro levels to try to chase the market higher. So, yeah, I'm just going to wait for 264 on that. That's really all I'd wait for there. TTD, Trade Desk. Yeah, interesting little bounce off the 50 here on Trade Desk. I would say you probably went over this high though, right? Pretty clear. 80.50, 85, and then gap fill. Interesting. 80.50 though. I'd watch that. MasterCard, huh? MasterCard. I mean, I haven't looked at this stock in a long time. Looks like a little bit of a disaster here, to be honest. I would say this 573 is going to be the spot to break. Right here. 573, 573, 573. Right? This rejection. I'd be careful up into that 573. Alright, guys. That's going to be it. Top watches today, Coinbase under 342, AMD under 139, Tesla, let's see if that can give some opportunity, maybe on a pop and fade. Car, guys, I got no thoughts on car, just a short squeeze. I mean, I would say if you're looking at that, look at gold, and gold is really nicely holding 3260, this demand low, so if markets start to get a little bit weak, gold could make a little run. You could watch gold again. All right. Guys, Sears. Shardy, what are we looking at Sears for? Is Sears even a company right now? The hell? All right, that's it. I'm not looking at hope you guys have a fantastic day. Let's get a quick peek at that NASDAQ. Oh, yeah. So, NASDAQ right at our level, man. NASDAQ right at our level. It's 22,745. S&P 500 getting close. SPY getting close to 614.50. QQQ. Oh, man. Right at 549. Damn. Okay. We're right there. 549, 549, 549. Under that, 548 gap fill. So we're finally going to get our gap fill, it seems. All right, guys. Have a fantastic day. Some nice watches out there. Best of luck. And I will see you tomorrow. Peace.